Welcome. Don't adjust your dial. Welcome everyone to the Lofi Poli Sci podcast. I'm your host, Michael Pickering. That's right. Lo-Fi's and low fidelity, low quality, in your face, messy as can be global news show. Here we're going to talk about that famous question, what's going on in the world today? It's Wednesday, and time for that Lofi Global News, fresh off the press. Source, BBC News, Asia section. Facebook blocks Thai access to group critical of monarchy. Oh, that's right. If you love the freedom of Facebook, well, this story isn't for you, because we're just going to hashtag authoritarian Facebook all day long. The story, in Thailand, there is this thing called lèse-majesté laws. This is, in a certain little humble podcaster's opinion, an archaic law that countries with monarchies used to have that makes it illegal to be critical or say anything bad about the royal family. Thailand still has one, and critics of the monarchy can face up to 15 years. And yes, they actually use it too. It's not just for show. There are currently pro-democracy movements going on in Thailand, and even some anti-monarchy protests going on. And one group with over 1 million people on Facebook in Thailand just got blocked by Facebook for Thai consumers in the country. I'm going to quote the BBC here as they spoke to a Facebook representative, which said they were being, quote, compelled to restrict access to content which the Thai government has deemed to be illegal, end quote. A question to you, Lo-Fi listeners out there. If tech companies are all about innovation and freedom in the world, and human prosperity, then why did Facebook silence over 1 million people in Thailand? Write in and let me know your thoughts. Next up, source, AP News International. Tik Tok sues Trump over his pending order to ban its app. That's right, keeping with tech companies, but this story in the opposite direction. On Monday, TikTok filed a lawsuit in California courts trying to overturn the president's ban that goes into effect next month. We're keeping this story brief because we're still waiting on more details, and I'm about over talking about tech companies for the day. But we'll definitely be keeping an eye on this lawsuit as it progresses. Now, moving forward because we never move on from anything. Source, BBC News, Africa section. Rwanda issues arrest warrant for genocide suspect in France. In 1994, just over 26 years ago, a tragic and horrible genocide took place. Today we get news that one of the Rwandan military officials that is believed to be a major player in the design of that genocide now has an arrest warrant issued for him and is believed to be in France. It tragically amazes me to no ends how long these things really take. The world witnesses atrocity after atrocity and moves so slowly to do anything about it, if anything at all. We'll definitely keep you updated on this moving forward, Lo-Fi Nation. Our following story comes from AP, the international section. Rule Britannia, BBC ditches sing-along amid colonial rethink. Well, look at you go, BBC, taking a stand. You see, Lo-Fi listeners, this song, Rule Britannia, goes back to the 1700s, when Britain was conquering way more than its fair share of the seven seas. To be metaphorical, of course. Back then, the British Empire was conquering, locking up, enslaving, exploiting, and generally breaking every single universal human rights law that would come into existence. This song, Rule Britannia, glorifies that time period. If you're really curious, take a look at the lyrics. In democracies today, people have a choice. You may not always like people's choice, but this week, the BBC made their choice, and they decided not to have a nationwide airing of a sing-along of that song. Colonization is over. Post-colonialism is a trend. Maybe the BBC is trying to decolonize itself. And a last piece of news to send you on your way for the day. Source, NASA Live. And yes, I said it. I'll say it again. Source, NASA Live. The past, present, and future of women in space. Women's Equality Day panel discussion, 3 p.m. EDT. That's right, if you didn't know, Lo-Fi Nation, today is Women's Equality Day in the U.S. On August 18th, 1920, 100 years and 7 days ago, women gained the right to vote in the U.S. with the passing of the 19th Amendment. Today at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, NASA kicks off with their Women in Space panel live. I'll simply say this. Thank you, women of NASA and everywhere, for making your presence felt and making our world a better place. And that's a brief snapshot of what's going on in the world today. Stay tuned for tomorrow's episode of Lofi Global News. Always remember that Lofi Poli Sci is more than just me. It's the we that we be. Write in with questions or comments to lofipolisci@planetmail.com. Thanks for listening. Stay safe, wash those hands, and I'll see you in the next episode of the Lofi Poli Sci podcast. Pickering, signing off.